or if I'm going too fast or too slow, let me know that as well. The agenda for today, basically what we wanted to cover here was what scenarios should you be looking for when you want to go out and present Popdock, or kind of where do you fit it in to your overall tool set. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. We'll go through a quick introduction, which is the part that should be repetitive for most of you. But then we want to get into Popdock as kind of its two key focuses, first as a reporting tool, and then as an integration tool. Like I said, if you do have questions, I have to put Q&A on the agenda, and I always have to put it last, but don't wait till the end. Or unless you really want to, you could wait till the end. I don't want to force you to ask questions throughout. All right, so let's do a really quick Popdock overview. These are kind of our 5 key talking points whenever we talk about Popdock. So I just wanted to revisit them. I'm sure you've seen this before. But the first thing that we need to know about Popdock is it's user-driven reporting. Okay, so some people will refer to it as a user query tool, something like that, which is true. Users get in there and they build their own reports and they connect to their data. But it goes a little bit beyond that. So if you think about anything else, Jet Reports or Power BI, or any of the other reporting tools out there today, there's almost always an IT involvement at some level, at least to get it set up or to maintain the security or to build the reports themselves. You can't get the average Joe into SSRS and building reports. Okay. We have customers who are running Popdock where IT doesn't even know it's there. Okay, so you can set up, run, and use Popdock. I always like to say the accountants can do everything on their own. Hopefully there's no accountants in the room. Okay, it's always real-time data, so there's no data warehouse. So if you think again about some of the other BI tools that are out there, I don't want to call Popdock a BI tool. If you think about some of the BI tools that are out there, there is at least some level of data warehousing required. So I have to get my data somewhere, maybe nightly, maybe hourly, whatever it is. Excuse me, and they're caching the data in some way. For our reports, every time a user clicks on refresh, they're getting fresh data direct from the source. Okay, data from anywhere. This is a fun one. So we have about 50 connectors out of the box, and literally we can pull data from pretty much anywhere. So over and above our 50 out of the box connectors, we've also got a REST connector available, which means users can set up their own connections to any service that we don't currently have as a standard connection. Okay, where the standard connectors come in handy is we have built a number of out-of-the-box lists that go with each of those standard connectors. So you have a bit more of a starting point as opposed to if you went straight to a REST connector. Okay, presented everywhere is probably my favorite. No, not probably. It is 100% my favorite aspect of Power BI or Popdock. Basically, we have something called widgets in Popdock, and we can take those widgets and we can embed them in pretty much any system where users are working. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of them inside Business Central today. I'll show you some inside of CRM. I know you guys don't actually do CRM, but I just like to show it because it's got a really slick ticket in there, a really slick widget in there. And we're going to show you inside of Teams. Okay, so we can actually take your reports and embed them anywhere, all with no code. Okay, interactive and actionable. So this isn't just about dragging and dropping columns and pivoting data. I mean, we have that and they are interactive, but we've also got something called actions where users can actually change the data they're reporting on. Okay, and with the most recent release of Popdock, you can actually define your own actions, which means you could hit up a REST node as an action. So you could update, we're going to show you updating a ticket in Zendesk, but you could update a ticket in CRM, or you could update a payroll record in one of the online payroll systems. Okay, so you can actually make all of your lists actionable. Okay, so that's kind of our broad strokes overview, our 5 key talking points whenever we go through these demos. Okay, now let's talk about Popdock as a reporting tool. So when I think about reporting tools, or reporting types, I've kind of got three main broad strokes categories of reports. And there's some overlap between these categories, but as a general rule of thumb, these are kind of your three business reports that people run. The first category is financial reporting. We should all be familiar with financial reports, the balance sheet, the P&L, all of those. They've all got really strict regulatory and formatting requirements, pretty much only come from the general ledger. We get backup from other modules within the accounting system, but it's all accounting data that we're pulling. Okay, and it's all based on fiscal periods. Nobody cares what happened last Tuesday from a P&L standpoint. They care about what happened last period. Okay, the next one is management reporting. These are user-defined reports. So, the industry you're in may speak to what should be on the report, but the user who's getting the report will ultimately drive what's on it, and they'll tell you what's right about that report. It is usually aggregated data, so you're not getting down at the detailed level. Management reporting is really meant to be at the 10 to 30,000 foot level. Okay. More and more recently, these are being presented as visualizations. So your Power BIs, your Tableaus, your BI 360s, whatever tool you want to talk about. Okay. Totally about decision making in this case, and the source is going to be driven by wherever the data is. Okay. One thing I like to throw in here, which always puts the accountants in the room in a fluster, is management reports don't have to tie to the GL. Okay, because with management reports, we might actually care about what happened last week, or we might count sales differently because sales should be net of returns or something like that. Okay. Lastly is our operational reports. Operational reports, very much like management reports, the key difference here is it's down in the weeds. Okay, so the people using operational reports really care about the individual records in the report as opposed to that 10 to 30,000 foot view. So you tend to see these as more tabular reports, lists of data. This is where you've got the, Betty the billing clerk has a great big spreadsheet that gets populated every Friday. That's the type of operational report we're looking for. Okay, again, these don't usually tie to the general ledger. All right, so when we take a look at those types of business reports and we think about the audiences, I don't know how good these icons are, but I use them anyway. So over under financial reports, you've got the board, the bank, and the tax collector. Okay, those are the people who mostly care about financial reports. You'll share them sometimes with your managers within the business, but only from are they meeting a budget standpoint. The managers in general don't care about a balance sheet. Okay, but the board, the bank, and the tax man does. For management reports, we obviously have management in there that is using those in there every week, every day, just trying to figure out what's going on. And the board will look at those as well. Quite often management reports get included as backup to the financial reports. Okay, lastly, under operational reports is the actual workers, and in some cases, the managers. Okay, so the people actually doing the day-to-day work. So when the board, the bank, the tax man, or the manager has a question, they always reach out to the worker and say, answer me this. Okay, so that's kind of where we see the reporting, the business reporting world. With that said, Popdock's sweet spot is that operational reporting for the workers. Okay, we're trying to control processes. We're trying to give users what they need to get through their day-to-day. Okay, so either controlling or informing processes. And then to a lesser extent, the management report. So we can do aggregated reports. It's just our bailiwick, if you will, is those detailed reports, detailed operational reports. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what I mean by that. So this is Popdock. Now I'm assuming most of you have seen Popdock already. I know there was some previous training. So if I kind of skip some stuff that you want to see, please let me know. I'm going to go here to my collections list. I'm going to go here to my collections list, which is a Popdock favorite that I set up previously. Okay, I'm going to close this little sidebar. Okay, so this is just showing me I can see down here at the bottom, it's filtered by customers with a balance greater than 50,000. This might be a list of, customers where their balance is more than 90 days past due, or it might be, a list of inventory items that we're about to run out of. Any list of things I need to do next, that's where Popdock fits in. Okay, now when I take a look at this data, let's take a look at Alta Manufacturing. What I want to be able to do is give my user everything they need. Sorry about that, guys. I am the one that had his stupid phone in the office. All right, if you're playing bingo, I just got the phone ring. So here we go. I'm going to take a look at Alta Manufacturing. Now, my whole goal here was to give my user everything they need to be able to do their process. Okay, so whatever has to happen, all the information they need should be here available to them. Okay, for example, over here on the side, I can see that I've got, where is Alta Manufacturing? Okay, you guys, even the ones who saw the demo before may not have seen this. This is actually a new feature we just added. I can actually embed any website within my Popdock report. Okay, so we're trying to get some other uses in there. But if you think about, if this customer had some Stripe data, for example, I could put an interface to Stripe in here and open it up for you. Or I could reach out to, I don't know, YouTube or you name it. Okay. So in this case, we're just using a map to show the user what's here. Okay, I've got a quick sales by item. So what does this customer normally buy? They're really big on the 500 processors here. Excuse me, although not that big, it's only 800 bucks. I don't know how they ran their business, their debt up so high. All right, I can take a look down here and find out where are all of the addresses. This might be a list of contacts. This might be, whatever you need it to be. Okay, the whole point of this is that we're supposed to be just sharing more and more information. Okay, and this report did not take a long time to build. Okay, we built this collections list in just a matter of minutes, and we've got all this data at our fingertips. Come on. There we go. There's our addresses. Here's our sales by item. And lastly, if I wanted to see the transactions themselves, I just right-clicked on Alta Manufacturing, go through to receivables transactions. Here's my list of everything that's there. Now I notice they've got sales amount listed here, but I don't know how much is outstanding. So I can really quickly come in here, add my current balance. Okay, and now I know what exactly they owe me for. Here's that $68,955. I've got these invoices here, and I can call them. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say we're trying to control or participate in a process. Okay. Next thing I want to show you real quick is the Zendesk tickets. Okay, so Zendesk is an online help desk solution. I like to show it because it has a lot of features and it shows well. Imagine any data source in here. Okay, imagine any report that you need to build. So I've got this grouped by priority here. If I wanted to take that out, I could just exit out. But I'm going to go ahead and put that back because as a support person, I want to know what is my top priority. Here I can come down here, or maybe even as a support manager, I can come down here, orange bell peppers, add bell peppers as an option for future orders. Doesn't strike me as an urgent priority. Okay, this is what happens when you let end users decide their own priorities. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to right click on that and notice all these. These are all of our actions. Okay, so I could, for example, add a comment. I'm going to change the priority. I'm not going to make that comment public because probably this knucklehead is still my customer. Go ahead and save. Okay, now I'll be able to see that comment over here in my comments. Okay, so here I'm going to expand that out. Here's all the comments associated with this ticket. Okay, here's this knucklehead chose the wrong priority as we just entered. Okay, just to prove it out, here's the created date, July 23rd. Now I'm going to change the priority, really adding it to our order options should just be normal. So I'm going to say save. Now, if I refresh this report up here, notice it's not here under the urgent anymore. And if I go to normal, it is right about there. Okay, so we're allowing our users to actually participate in the process through the Popdock report. Okay, so we're not just showing data, we're not just pulling data from different sources. We're actually allowing them to participate in the process. Okay, so if I run back to my PowerPoint real quick. Okay, we got through that. If we think about who needs Popdock as a reporting tool based on what I just showed you, any company that has workers or managers would need it, okay? Or any company that has a process to manage. Any company that has a process to manage. All right, are there any questions up to this point? Cool. So let's talk about Popdock as an integration tool, because a lot of times we don't actually talk about this, okay? And it's not super obvious when you think about Popdock that it is actually a key part of your total integration solution strategy, okay? So here at E1 Solutions, we've got two key products. First one is Smart Connect, second one is Popdock. Okay, we have lots of other products, but those are our two big ones that are, well, they're the two that are relevant for the conversation we're having today. Okay, so when I take a look at what those tools are all about, Smart Connect is our move the data tool, and I'll explain that in a second, with Popdock being our share the data tool. Okay, so what do we mean by that? You guys have probably seen this 100 times in your business. Okay, I don't care what ERP you put, I don't care what CRM you put in there. The scenario is pretty much always the same. So you've got things like customers and accounts where you need to maintain them between the two solutions. Okay, you've got things like opportunities where both solutions could use the information, but only one of them actually requires the data. Okay, there's no business value in listing your opportunities inside of your ERP. Okay, sales orders, same thing. When I have an opportunity and I win it and I turn it into a sales order, I need to push that data over to my ERP because my warehouse does not operate inside of my CRM. Okay, so they need to have the order so they can process the order. So this all makes sense. It should make sense to all of you. Okay. Finally, we're going to have something like a shipping system that's actually going to need to feed data into both of those, both the ERP and the CRM, because everybody wants to know whether or not this thing has been shipped. Okay, so if you take a look at this and you apply those two products I just mentioned, okay, everything that's in the dark blue is a Smart Connect integration. Okay, so that's the traditional move the data type integration where I have to keep the account and the customer in sync. I have to copy the sales order, the one order into the sales order. I have to copy invoice data over to the CRM. These are all pieces of data that have to flow. That's where Smart Connect comes in. Popdock, on the other hand, when we take a look at widgets that I mentioned earlier, that really cool feature, we can just show the users that data. We don't have to physically move it. Just by way of an example, I actually was quoting a project yesterday. The customer had come to us and said, I want to integrate, it was Dynamics GP and Salesforce was our ERP and our CRM. And they said, we want to push all the invoices and all the payment records from Dynamics GP into the CRM. And when we started asking, the only reason to move that data, which is actually really difficult because you can't just move an invoice, you have to integrate customers, items, tax codes, payment terms codes. Like there's a lot of pieces that go into making an invoice that you have to then keep in sync. They just wanted their salespeople to be able to know whether or not something had been invoiced and whether or not that invoice had been paid. So we actually turned that into a Popdock project because, as I'm about to show you, you can do all that without any integration. Okay. When we also think about Popdock as a integration tool, Popdock can be a Smart Connect data source. Okay, so where Popdock comes in handy in Smart Connect is we can actually combine multiple data sources into a single list. We can do things like a compare list. We just built one last week where the customer had an API that they were connecting to. They needed to get orders into Business Central. So what we did was we created a compare list that actually pulled only API records, API orders that were not already in Business Central. Okay, so we were able to do that through Popdock using a compare list, and it was really slick. When it comes to Business Central in particular, I personally find it a lot easier to filter data when it comes inside of Popdock than using the OData commands that you have when you use the web services. Okay, so the OData commands actually don't even allow you to do things like relative dates, show me all the orders for today, whereas Popdock does. Within a filter, I can say, give me all the orders for today, and that, you know, it took 3 seconds as opposed to trying to figure out the OData commands. Okay, and one other thing, I don't know if I'm supposed to brag about this or not. If you only need a piece of data as a data source, Popdock doesn't have any limit on the number of connectors. Okay, so if I had 3 different web services that were only being used as data sources, I could just create those lists inside of Popdock and only use Popdock as one connector in Smart Connect. So it saves on my licensing on the Smart Connect side. Okay, and lastly, I won't be showing you this today, but Popdock can be a Power BI, Excel, or Tableau. I don't know if I'm allowed to slash those together. Microsoft will probably yell at me, but it can be a source for any one of those. Okay, again, we can combine multiple lists into a single list. I find Popdock is more efficient at that than Power BI or Excel. I personally haven't worked with Tableau, so I can't speak to that. But we do handle JSON a whole lot better. So it's a lot easier to define JSON record sets inside of Popdock than it is inside of Power BI. All right, so let's take a look.
I've got a question real quick, rewind. I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. Whenever you're talking about using Popdocs as a data source for Smart Connect, so I can pull from multiple data sources easier with Popdocs and then pull from Popdocs with a Smart Connect and push over what I want. Is that the idea?
That is 100% the idea.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure I was grasping this.
As my father often says, you got it, Pontiac. Apparently, it's a commercial from earlier. But yes, you 100% have it. All right, so let's take a look at some of these features about Popdock that kind of make this kind of bear out what I'm saying. Okay, first of all, seeing your data anywhere. I want to take a look at, let's find Giordano's. This might log me out. All right, so I'm obviously in Business Central here. We've got a Popdock extension for Business Central. Okay, I want to point you over here on the right-hand side. So notice, Skippy is going to start skipping soon. My kids aren't even home today, so I don't know why. Usually I blame them and their Netflix. Awesome. All right, so somebody changed this on me overnight, but this is supposed to be showing me CRM opportunities here on the right-hand side. Okay, so I have a Popdock widget that's embedded. Hopefully, I mean, we're all salespeople here. Hopefully we understand the demo guides are not always good to us. But this is showing me CRM data without me actually having to go to CRM. Okay, I'm not consuming a license, anything like that. I'm going to go over to Popdock as a tool, just to show you another way that we interact with it. So now what's going to come up is there's a list of lists up here for me to choose from. Okay, these are some of those out-of-the-box lists I talked about earlier when I said standard connectors. So for example, I could take a look at posted sales invoice lines. You could pull this data in. Now, right now, this one is showing only Business Central data. Okay, but I could set it up so that it was showing CRM data, Zendesk data, data from wherever I need it to show. Okay, and again, it's all the same stuff I showed you earlier. I can sort, I can group, do whatever I need to do. I can add columns, I can have details. Okay, I would like to show you a better example of a widget. This is a widget. Okay, I'm going to pop into CRM real quick. So this is that same customer that I tried to show you before, Giordano's. Here we've got a Popdock list embedded in here. Okay, so this is one quick way that I can do it, where I can see the data. I can see, what were the lines on this? What were the lines on this invoice? Okay, so that's one way that I can see the data real quick. But another way, if I wanted to make this more interactive for my users, notice here I've got shipping on the side. So now I've chosen this particular invoice, and here's all of my shipping data for it. So the point of showing you these widgets inside of a tool is most of your users want to spend their day inside of a single tool. Okay, and Popdock reports are really cool, and they can give you lots of information, but giving a user a whole other system to have to log into, i.e. Popdock, they may not use it. It's kind of a pain to have to go to 3 or 4 or 10 systems a day. So if I'm embedding in their main system that they're working in, and I'm giving them all the data they need, very cool. Okay. I want to show you the Zendesk ticket one here real quick. So you can see here I've got different tickets. Notice as well, these tickets and even these orders were limited to Giordano's. Okay, so it's context sensitive within whatever I'm in. Okay, so we're using filters and parameters for that when the users actually embed. Okay, again, I've got all my shipping data here. On the Zendesk side, I can add comments, I can change priorities, all the same stuff I showed you before. Okay. Now, we tend to focus a little too much on CRM and ERP when we're talking about Popdock. So I'd actually like to show you. I'm inside Teams right now. Okay, and notice across the top, I've got a couple of tabs. So let's take a look at this Popdock tab. This is showing me that same Zendesk tickets favorite that I showed you earlier. Okay, I could group by priority again. Okay, notice here it's that same one ticket is urgent. Okay, needs pine after a long day. I can come in here. We can find our orange bell peppers. And you know what? I changed my mind. I can add a comment. Change my mind. Go ahead and save that. Okay, and now I can escalate it. So now I can change my priority. All that same stuff that I showed you before. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to refresh. Now, hopefully you understand, I'm not importing data into Teams here. I am presenting a report that allows my users to interact with it. Now, we got this idea from an actual customer, actually a bunch of customers. We have a lot of customers who are using Zendesk, and for some of them, they're development engineers or whatever. They don't work inside of Zendesk. They do work inside of Teams. So what they've done is they've created a whole bunch of Popdock reports, very much like this one, filtered by team. So specific types of tickets actually go to specific teams within Teams. And the senior engineers can interact with the tickets that way. Okay, so they're not consuming Zendesk licenses, but they're still seeing tickets as they come in. They're still able to participate in that process. Okay.
Hey, I have a question. This is Deanna.
Mm-hmm.
I think I lost your audio there for a second, but so they're able to see the data, they're able to comment on the data, change it for themselves, how it appears on their list or their dashboard, but they're not actually going into wherever it's coming from and changing it there, right?
Correct. Well, okay. So they're not going to, I didn't go to Zendesk to change the data, but I changed the data in Zendesk.
from here?
from here.
Okay, so they are changing the data.
They can.
From
Now
there.
that's not, I mean, that's not something you have to build in, but that's actually a really cool use. We actually just released the ability to custom define what these actions are. So one I was hoping to have ready for today, but I didn't, I could actually create a whole new ticket from here. Okay, in the case of Zendesk. But for you guys, it might be, you know, your salespeople are in CRM and they need to create a new customer inside of Business Central so that it will flow into CRM for them. Just, it's a weird example, but just go with me. You could do that. Okay, so you could have customers or users in CRM creating Business Central data, maybe altering the price list is a better example, where they're in CRM, they don't have a BC license, they can alter the price list from CRM. And everybody can just keep working in their day rather than send an email over to Betty and billing and having Betty try to change that price list. So there's actually a lot of use cases for this ability to modify the source data.
But then do they also need Smart Connect, right, to push the data back?
Well, in that example, they would have,
Yeah.
but that if CRM was using it. Okay, so that's why I was saying earlier, both Popdock and CRM, they're really kind of the same spectrum. You could almost consider them two modules of the integration solution. Okay, with moving the data and sharing the data at each end of the spectrum.
Now with your Business Central connection and the Smart Connect, would that pretty much follow across the board with like Zendesk? Would I need a Smart Connect to change the data here in Teams and push it back, or?
So not necessarily a Smart Connect. Let me show you. This is actually the last thing I was going to show you on this, and I think it might actually answer your question. So I don't want to get too codey on this, but when I want to create one of those details, I'm going to go into the connector itself. So in my case, it is this guy right here. Okay. There's a couple of different ways that the actions can work. Okay. So you can see here we've created some forms, some custom forms. Okay. And if I modify this add comment one, okay, all I'm doing is entering a couple of fields, right? So I just kind of created that form with no code. I added a parameter for ticket ID, and then I told it what it's supposed to do. Okay, so in this case, it's executing an API, or executing an action, which is running the API for Zendesk. Okay, so this is all fully definable by you guys or by the users for what those actions are going to do. So what you might do in the case of what you were saying before, do I have to run a Smart Connect map from Popdock to make things, flow if I want them to? Not necessarily. If there's an API where I can just directly write the data in, then I could just execute that API. But I can execute a Smart Connect map from a Popdock report, which is pretty cool. And just because we're all Microsoft folks here, you can actually execute a Power Automate or whatever, DataFlex. I think they just changed the name yesterday. You can actually execute a DataFlex flow as well. Okay, so lots of choices for what you can actually run as an action from Popdock. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so I'm going to run back to my PowerPoint real quick. Okay, so who needs Popdock as an integration tool? Basically, any company that has multiple systems that users have to work in, or again, any company that has processes to manage. Okay, which means if you take both of those, who needs Popdock as a whatever tool, it really boils down to who needs Popdock, and every company needs Popdock. Okay, everybody's got processes, everybody's got data in multiple systems. Everybody wants to work in the system they want to work in. we've all built careers around integrating different systems. Okay, so with that, if there's no further questions, I'm going to flip it over to Alicia.
Yeah, did anybody have any questions for Rod? No? Hopefully everybody's still with us.
Cool.
I just wanted to go over a couple promotions that we have for Q3. We do have a Popdock promotion when anybody purchases the standard level or higher subscription for Smart Connect. You actually receive the Popdock Professional plan. That includes those unlimited widgets that you can use, and when they purchase Smart Connect, one of those plans, they also receive 5 Popdock users. Okay, so this is probably more for Brian, but when he purchases that, basically all he would need to do is add that Popdock subscription to his cart, and the offer automatically takes off the cost of the Popdock and the Popdock license. So the other thing, I know that you may or may not come into many people that have Scribe, but we do have a Scribe trade-in as well this quarter that basically says, purchase standard, professional, or premium subscriptions and receive 30% off the Smart Connect for the first year. So 2 promotions there. Any questions around those?
No.
Okay, sounds good. With that, any other questions? I think that's all we had today. Internally, I do know that Chris Dew on my team, you guys have met him several times. He is working with Brian later next week, I believe, and getting some internal stuff set up for himself for reporting wise. So if anybody else needs help, if you have certain lists or something like that that you want to see, let me know and I can line you up with Chris and he can help get some internal things set up for you as well. All right, any other questions?
Alicia, thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Before everyone goes, I just want to let you know that E1 is doing a customer webinar on 8/20, and we'll be getting all the details up on the website for that. But that will be August 20th. And Alicia, I just sent an email over to you on updated pricing and any other documents that will help the team. You can send
Perfect.
those over.
Yep. Awesome.
So sorry, this is Deanna. I do have one question. With the deal that you're offering, so that's only for new users that purchase Smart Connect now?
Correct. Yep.
Thanks.
You bet.
All right, well, if nobody has any further questions, I think we'll wrap.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.